Joining us now in Studio B, we just spoke with one of his offensive linemen, is the offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes. Coach, welcome back. We've kept your seat warm for you. I hope you know that.
I noticed that. Did you let Brady sit in this chair?
Yes, we did.
I noticed. It felt a little bit off. You know, it's tilting a little bit to one side. You know, he plays left tackle, so he leans on that left leg a little bit.
I asked Kyrus if he wanted to raise his chair, and he said, no, I'm afraid the chair will break. And I said, okay, whatever you want, man.
Kyrus sat in this?
Yeah.
Wow. It's a strong chair.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
They've all been Mo-Longy tested, by the way, just before, and then we're good.
Okay, so we're good.
That's the standard,
Yeah.
And we've had some fun talking about the Grimes man rules and things like that. So what's the Grimes man rule of the day?
Wow. You know, I was completely unprepared for that. So I don't know, but a good one to go with is eat as much meat as you can in a single 24-hour period. That always works.
Yeah. I'm thinking of moments on my mission in southern Brazil with the barbecue and being sick immediately after.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just worth it.
It was in the moment. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about this 2019 offense. So you had to make this adjustment midway through to cater to your quarterback, and that's a credit to your coaching. Is okay. Let's line up with your skill set. How much more change did you make in the offseason now that it is a anticipated full season of Zach Wilson?
I think we've certainly added a few things and deleted a few things and changed how we do a few things as well, but more subtle changes. The overall style will be similar to what you saw the latter part of the year with Zach at quarterback. But you know, we felt like as a staff when we started this thing a year and a half ago is that we needed to build a versatile system. And I think for us, for any offense, that's somewhat important. For us, maybe more so than others, because I think from a recruiting standpoint, the most important thing we have to do is sign the best LDS athletes that are available every year. And so if we're going out and signing the guys who are the best players who are also members of the church, that guy may or may not fit a specific style as well as if you have a wider net that you're casting. And so in one particular year, that top quarterback might be more of a pro-style guy. A different year, it might be a little bit more of an athletic spread guy that runs around and plays with his feet a little bit more. And the same could be said at any number of positions. So I think being versatile and flexible is important for us and our staff. But having said that, that will still apply to some extent with the personnel that we play with. The most important thing is to get our best players on the field, and whether we do that with 11 personnel or 20 personnel or 12 personnel or 13 personnel, regardless of how many tight ends or receivers or backs we have out there, we want to get the best players on the field as often as possible. And so there will still be some flexibility and some changes as the season and our offense evolves, but I think you'll see a product pretty similar to what you saw the latter half of the year. Obviously one that has a little bit more confidence for me as a play caller, with more guys coming back, a returning quarterback that you know better, and so a little bit more willingness to do a little bit more.
BYU offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes with us on BYU Sports Nation. Media Day continues. Coach, we hear constantly that Zach Wilson is a football junkie, and you get to experience and see that more so than most people. What goes into that, and what does that even mean? Because we see what he can do on the field, but what does that mean behind the scenes?
Well, in particular, this spring, it's meant everything to him, because while he hadn't been able to get out there and run the offense and throw the ball, I think he's still gained a lot of information just by being a junkie and studying the game. And he's texting me and A-Rod all the time about what he saw and what he's studying and what he's learning. And so I think you'll still see a guy that increases his performance right away. And obviously part of that would be due to this being his second year as a starter. But I think he will have grown more so than others would in that same position, because if I checked up on him at one night at 10:30, he's probably more likely to be watching football than watching Netflix or playing a video game, and that's usually not the case for most guys his age.
How different is the playbook if JAREN Hall is in there versus Zach Wilson? Is it very similar?
Very similar.
Is it but it's not the same exact one?
I think with every change in quarterback, there would be some things you would emphasize a little bit more than others, but this spring we didn't feel like we had to do anything differently than we would have, or call any different plays, or have any sort of different design than we would have with the quarterbacks that we had. In particular, with JAREN getting the majority of the reps towards the end of spring ball with the first group, very similar style. And while he's still growing and evolving as a player, I think we'll see only better things from him. He's really, really talented, and a good challenge to have is how we can best use him.
Were you, I know you wanted to win games at all costs, right? But were you careful to try and, if you could, limit him to 4 games or fewer last year to keep that red shirt? Since he's a red shirt freshman?
Yeah. If we felt like we had needed to use him more, we certainly could have. But once we made the switch, we felt like we didn't need to necessarily play him a lot. And really, he was still in that getting his legs back phase from the mission, and last year wasn't really even close to what he has shown that he can be this spring.
The offensive line is getting a lot of attention, and I think rightfully so. We saw Brady Christensen with Pro Football Focus being rated highly as one of the best sophomore tackles coming back. But really, I think it's kind of hard for a BYU fan in general not to get excited about the experiences coming back with how many young guys that have played well at that young age. How do you see the offensive line, and what are your expectations for them this season?
Well, I'm pleased with the progress that they're making. I think they're certainly moving in the right direction. I'm really happy with the job that Coach Mateos is doing. He's a great fit for them, and they've taken to his personality and teaching style really well. But I think we've got a group that last year met a certain standard, and that standard was they're playing pretty well for a bunch of young guys. And now that's not the case. And so this year, we need to play really well for a bunch of guys with experience, and that bar is set at a different mark now. That mark last year was, just having 1 or 2 sacks in that game was okay given who they are. We're beyond that now. And so I look to see our offensive line take a huge jump, and I would love to see them be the group that allows us to become that next level offense. And I think if they become tougher and more physical and more consistent, then our whole offense will take on that approach.
For the record, Brady is pining for another opportunity to catch the ball at some point.
Yeah. Does he remember how that one worked out?
He did make someone miss, which
was
impressive.
He did.
And he said, I didn't want to call anyone out, James Empey, but he missed a block.
The overall success of the play was not necessarily limited to his performance.
Political answer, Jeff. I like it.
Oh, it's great stuff.
Tyson Williams, North Carolina, South Carolina, grad transfer. What kind of difference could this guy make in the backfield?
I think he's got an opportunity to really make a big difference, and I feel the same way about Emmanuel. We felt like with the losses we sustained last year, coupled with the fact that there weren't a lot of natural fits at running back in last year's recruiting class, created a situation for us where we needed to go and look at the junior college and grad transfer market. And in doing that, we we didn't think we were going to sign 2 and didn't necessarily set out to do that, but we found 2 guys who ended up feeling like this was the best fit for them. And we certainly had room given the losses that we had and not bringing in guys in that recruiting class. And so I feel like both of them can add. If you didn't feel that way, you wouldn't bring in a guy that just had a year left. It's kind of like a pro sports team that signs a guy that's toward the end of his career but might have 1 or 2 good years left in him, to help him get that championship or take that next step.
Kawhi Leonard, they're both Kawhi Leonard. 1 year left on the deal.
Yeah, well, we'll see. they're both very talented guys that we're excited about.
And then Lopini Katoa, Tyler Algier. I know there's others in the mix as well. How do you feel about that group?
Yeah, I think we've got a very interesting group at running back. And last year it was an unusual position because we played so many different guys, and that wasn't necessarily by design. We had changes in health constantly, almost weekly. And it was really just who was available that particular week, and we have a lot of those guys back. You mentioned Peeny and Tyler. Kavika Fonal's back after sitting out all of last year with an injury. Sione Finau has a lot of potential for a young guy, and so we've got several guys there who don't have a lot of experience, and then we've got 2 guys joining the program who have experience in other systems at other places. And so there's a lot of competition there, which I always think is a really good thing, because competition forces the cream to rise to the top.
We'll finish with this. Obviously, the emphasis is on Utah, 72 days away. The following week, 9 days later, you go to Neyland Stadium in Tennessee, where you have coached and been before and are well aware of that atmosphere. What kind of atmosphere awaits BYU in that first road game of the season for fans and players that are going to be there for the first time?
You know, any of the elite SEC programs offers just such a tremendous opportunity to play the game, you know. Whether you're talking about Tennessee or Georgia or Auburn or LSU or wherever you might be talking about in that league, just the pageantry of the game, the excitement of the fans, just offers a tremendous game day environment. And I really think our players will look forward to that. I think it'll be a great opportunity for us to go and prove ourselves on a national stage. And I think we've got the kind of guys, particularly this year, that'll rise to that challenge.
Coach, great to talk with you, and thank you for sharing your Grimes man rule of the day on the spot. I know we put you in a tough position there, but we will take it to heart. Eat as much meat as you can in a 24-hour period.
He's used to calling plays quickly. This is nothing, right?
I had to call something, yeah.
You had to call something.
It's a pretty good one, I think, actually. Yeah, it's a good play.
Good.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
first down.
Yeah, first down. Thanks, Jeff.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
guys.